Welcome to Popcorned Planet. I am Andy Signore. We've been hanging live talking about Miss Janet Jackson, also Michael Jackson, and so much more. Her documentary aired on A&E and Lifetime this past weekend. It was very hard to find, so thanks to everybody who helped me figure out how to watch it, because I had a lot of trouble. They didn't have a streaming component. I wish it had been on some sort of streaming platform. But I want to break down, we're not going to talk about the whole documentary. I think the whole thing was kind of underwhelming if you're looking for bombshells. She didn't really drop a lot of bombshells. However, if you want to get more of an insight into the very private Janet Jackson, it does really peek into her life a lot more, her marriage, old footage, how she recorded. Stuff like that was really fascinating, as well as her relationship with Michael. It's touched upon a few times, and for me, that was the most emotional, strongest part of this documentary. If you're going in looking for, like, what happened at the Super Bowl and the secret love bait, you're not going to really get much of that sort of stuff. They clearly were using that to get you excited in the teaser. But the reality check is it's more of a profile in the history of Miss Jackson, and I think she deserves more respect. Steph, as someone from the UK, welcome, Steph, the Alter Nerd. Someone in the UK, was Janet Jackson a big celebrity out there for you? Like, do you put her in high regard in that regard? Her legendary music status?
Totally. Just as big over here as she was in America. Of course, not as big as Michael Jackson. However, she was known in her own right. And yeah, like, her tours would sell out. I remember, I think it was like 97, 98 when she released Together Again, that video. And I remember in the UK, we went nuts over that song. That was played like all the time. And then years prior to that, when Scream came out and she did that duet with Michael Jackson, we all went nuts for that as well. So yeah, and then when she went into acting, she did, the Nutty Professor films and all that lot. Yeah, we definitely did hold her in high regard. We really liked her.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, exactly. There was Nutty Professor, there was Poetic Justice. They talk about that in the documentary as well. But what really tanked her career for a little period there was the whole Super Bowl controversy. And I'm putting a poll out. I think I had trouble the first time I posted it. Want to get your thoughts on who's to blame. Obviously, a lot of people are still angry. Whoop, hit the wrong button there. Obviously, a lot of people are still angry at Justin and his involvement in this. Now, that was the one thing I was really looking forward to in this documentary, was sort of trying to finally get to the truth behind the Super Bowl incident. What happened with Justin and Janet? Was it planned? What happened? Is she mad at him? I expected in this documentary her telling her truth as she hyped it, which I wish she wouldn't have said. I wish it was just the truth. But I was excited to hear her point of view on this. Well, the documentary reveals that she's good with Justin. We're good friends. We've moved on. That's what happens in the documentary. They don't really get into it at all. They do reveal the fact that Justin had reached out to Janet multiple times. Janet sort of didn't really talk to him. But he reached out specifically when he was going to do the Super Bowl again himself. He wanted to attempt to extend the olive branch and give her an opportunity. Would she want to appear? They talk about that. It was teased in the teaser, and she chose no. We know the answer to that. She didn't really want to do it. She wasn't ready. And so, honestly, the whole thing was blown out of way proportion. And of course, it was an accident that should have never happened. But everyone is looking for someone to blame, and that's got to stop, she said of the incident. Justin and I are very good friends, and we will always be very good friends. We spoke just a few days ago. He and I have moved on. It's time for everyone else to do the same. Well, that was pretty much where it went. There's a lot of, back and forth, but she sort of just addresses that in a video and sort of says it's over. And, everyone's supposed to move on, right, Steph? Well, Black Twitter, which again, news to me, Black Twitter is, I guess, black people on Twitter, here's 11,000 people, Black Twitter looking at Justin Timberlake like, we're not accepting this. This became a whole, Janet Jackson, I've forgiven Justin Timberlake. Please leave him alone.
No.
No, 32,000 likes of people as Black Twitter started going back against saying, we're not going to forgive Justin Timberlake. And as I went through and sort of watched some of these more than waiting for Black Twitter to do its annual dragging of Justin Timberlake, I had no idea this how much hate there was. Janet Jackson, I've forgiven Justin Timberlake. We're good friends now.
I don't give a fuck.
Nope. They weren't having it. There's a lot of people still, this was also very mean, people comparing Ruth from Ozark as Justin Timberlake. She's much prettier. Yeah, but that happened. Janet really told us to leave Justin Timberlake alone, and she's in a better place. And Black Twitter respectfully said no. The memes all started coming in. Damn, gotta be careful on that one. Me at Justin Timberlake and Les Muniz for destroying Janet Jackson's career. As all it's forgiven until somebody from Black Twitter said Justin Timberlake still got paid and Janet Jackson didn't. So they weren't having it. Black Twitter is going to tear Justin Timberlake's ass up tomorrow. It's been 18 years. I cannot wait. I love this manacle Raven Simone laugh. That's a good meme clip if you ever need it. But anyway, so Steph, they weren't having it. Justin Timberlake, count your MF days. Janet Jackson doc. Justin Timberlake really sat there from White Girls. Justin Timberlake really sat there and watched Janet burn for the shit he did. People getting all mad at Justin Timberlake over again right now. All right. So I can't play some of this, the clips. Janet Jackson telling me to not hate Justin Timberlake anymore, and they're like, nope, turn away. So it begged the question, just Steph, as she's looking all confused. It begged the question, why are people, what's with Black Twitter, just people in general? What's with the beef? Why don't they still, why aren't they taking Janet's advice and just saying, it's time to move on? Well, I dug deeper, and I wanted to get into it, because while she doesn't really expose the truth of Justin in the documentary, she does really expose him. She has exposed him in the past if you know where to look. And I got to give props out to Shannon here, Miss Shannon, who put together a fantastic thread. Thank you, it was the headline team. Thank you for sending this over, because there's a couple clips I want to play in here to just show you why they're still mad at Justin. And I got to say, Steph, after looking through some of this, I'm with them. Now, to be fair, Justin has apologized more recently because he sort of was pressed to with Britney Spears stuff. He put out like a long, lengthy apology to both Britney and Janet and how he wants to do better. He's trying to, but of course a lot of people are like, well, yeah, he did it when he had to, right, Steph? He did it when they were like sort of forcing him and he was against the wall. So I want to go through some of this stuff. So thanks to Shannon for bringing back the thread of receipts of how this all went down going back to 2003, Steph. So here it is. Janet Jackson featured to perform at the AOL Super Bowl halftime show. That's how old this was. The AOL Super Bowl halftime show.
I am feeling so old right now.
Well, all right. So this was, produced by MTV Music, CBS Sports, yada, yada, yada. And this is how they promoted it. Janet Jackson's Super Bowl show promises shocking moments. This is how they were hyping it up. Right beforehand. Now we're in 2004 when it happened. Janet was type-lift, but gave us just enough that she had in store.
How big this is? I mean, you've got 90 million people watching the halftime show. It's all over America.
God, TRL? Do you remember? Anybody remember?
A little bit of butterflies, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but as of right now, it's cool. Everything's good.
What do you have planned specifically? Can you get into that? Any surprises?
Oh, there's gonna be surprises.
There's a special guest.
She won't say much. She won't say else. So I'm so sorry if you weren't there, but it's pretty sickening. Rumored surprises. Janet returning, big energy. Then it happened. Justin appeared for the surprise duet, and then surprised everybody. I'm not going to show you the clip in question, but I will make it I'll recreate it here, Steph. This is Justin's arm, but I'm Janet. Janet's like there, and Justin. The song says, "Have you naked by the end of this song?" He grabs her boob and pulls. It's very clear what he's doing. It's all on purpose. He grabs as he pulls. The clothes thing is in his hand, just the top part. She has a nipple ring on. Oh my God, boob flops down with nipple ring on. Ah, boob! Ah! Everyone freaks out, Steph. I don't understand why they cared so much, but everyone freaked out. But it was clearly something that was staged. He's the one who did it. There's "Have you naked by the end of this song?" Dude, you're getting her naked by the end of the song. Hello? Is it that big of a deal? Who cares? I don't understand why it was such a big deal, Steph, but it was. But it was, something. Anyway, so as this thread, all hell broke loose. This was true. Chaos everywhere because someone saw a boob.
Yes.
Babies can be on them all day long. We raise them, but no, oh my God, there's a boob out just dangling. And oh my God, what am I going to tell my kids? Jesus Christ. So here's the post. This is where things get interesting. You got to remember this because we're going to come back to this. This is the post-show interview straight off the stage after it just happened. Mind you, Steph, here it is.
Stand back one first. What was it like?
That was fun. It was quick, to the point.
It was quick and to the point. I gotta be careful.
Promise, bet I'll have you naked.
I'll have you naked by the end of the song. I gotta be careful of the music. There it is.
And Justin delivered.
And Justin delivered.
In one instant, it was So Long Janet's Rhythm Nation, Hello T-Bone Nation, with everybody scrambling to rewind to see if we really saw what we thought we saw. Guess what? We did.
You guys are getting pretty hot and steamy up there. Hey, man. We love giving y'all something to talk about.
It's all everybody's talking about, starting with Janet's...
So there it is. Look at that look he gives, Steph. Yeah, we love giving you something to talk about. Look at that cocky Timberlake. Yeah. Dude knew what he was doing. Dude totally knew what he was doing. I don't buy for a second. They didn't know what they were doing. We're going to get to that. All right, but you got... So now, here's the next day. A few days later.
Was surprised and betrayed.
We didn't fly in to Houston until the day of the Super Bowl. Got a call prior to the show from Janet, her choreographer, saying that they wanted to do a costume reveal. Now, I was under the impression that what was going to be revealed in the costume reveal was a red brassiere, a bustier, forgive me. And, you know, got in, didn't really have time to rehearse it, got to the field, went on stage, was in the moment, and when what happened, I mean, I was completely shocked and appalled, and all I could say was, oh my God. You know, I immediately, I looked at her, they brought a towel up onto the stage, I immediately covered her up. I mean, I was completely embarrassed, and just walked off the stage as quick as I could, and later that night, you know, I was informed that they wanted me to make a statement about it, and
Did you see a towel when he was talking and giving that wink to camera stuff about how they like to keep us all safe? Did you see any outrage or worry? Sure seemed like he was super high on the energy and enjoying it all. Didn't do shit. But now, when all the pressure happens, I got a towel for her. Yeah, I was all just blah, 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 blah.
So I did. At the time, I explained what I knew, and now it's turned into an unfortunate, incredibly huge situation.
Justin was emphatic the idea was not his.
Especially coming off such a great year. I mean, 2003 was remarkable for me, and I felt like I made a lot of steps with my music, and I did a lot of good things. And like I said, I don't want to be involved in a stunt. That's not my style. You know, I don't have any reason to do this. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated at the whole situation. I'm frustrated that my character is being questioned.
So what's interesting is, as we're going through this, and I'm gonna. The irony of this statement is important because people don't seem to forget that everything was on TV, and this was before the days of YouTube. In fact, I don't know. Fun fact stuff. The Janet Jackson thing created YouTube because of all the TiVo and everybody Googling for it. YouTube became an entity bigger because they're like, well, crap. Why aren't we putting these clips on a place where they can find them? And so that's how YouTube was born.
I don't feel like I need publicity like this. And I wouldn't want to be involved with a stunt, especially something of this magnitude. And let me just get something off my chest. You know, I've been on tour for the past 3 months. Got a call from my manager to do the Super Bowl. That they were interested in me doing the Super Bowl, and initially turned it down. Got a call from Janet, and decided to do it. Found out a way to work.
So Janet begged me to do it is now what he's basically saying, Steph. Icon Janet Jackson begged me to do it. I said no, but then Janet called me and figured out a way to make it work for me. Can you believe this?
I'm sorry. No, I'm calling BS on that because he's turning around and saying 2003 was such an amazing year for me. And then all of a sudden, right, you get a call to say, do you want to do the Super Bowl? And you turn around and say no. No artist in their right mind would turn around and say no to the damn Super Bowl, whether they're heading it up themselves or a surprise guest. Because all those eyeballs watching, and it said there 90 million. Yeah, you know that you're going to jump at the chance.
Yeah, huge stunt. And he knew the stunt going in.
Huge. So yeah, I'm calling BS on that and everything else that he's saying as well.
It's to all BS, but I love that he's like, yeah, I turned it down, and then she called me and figured out a way to. Yeah, she begged. Jesus Christ, you're on there talking about how Janet begged for you to be there.
Into one musically, i.e., her song going into mine. Now I wasn't able to be at a lot of the rehearsals. I flew in from Spain.
I was too busy.
Justin was so
But I still grabbed her boob and ripped the thing off.
steamed, he came back after the interview
He was so steamed, he came back to the interview.
was finished to say this.
So the only other thing that I can say is that I do understand how unfortunate this is. I do understand that there were a lot of people that were completely offended by what happened, including my own family. And I think that's probably the part that's frustrating the most for me. And
That you did. But then why'd you do it, idiot?
it's completely regrettable.
Okay, correction on the first part. He was so steamed, he came back and he did this addendum to the interview. In other words, his PR team watched what he said and turned around and says, hang on a minute, you've got to address the people that you offended. La, 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 you need to recognize them. You need to be apologetic to them, this, that, and the other. I was a total freaking PR move. Everything that he did. What I don't understand out of all of this that we're talking about so far is that if Janet Jackson's turning around now and saying, look, me and Justin are cool, leave him alone, it's in the past, it's dealt with, it's done and dusted, we're done, why are people still trying to carry on this narrative of being offended really on behalf of Janet Jackson when she's turning around and saying there's not to be offended about anymore, it's all done, I've put it behind me?
Well, and I think this is the clip. I hope this is. We're gonna get in trouble. I pause and start this a lot because I need to offer commentary, so I don't want them to ding me because they're being annoying. But here's what she did say.
Did you hear from Justin?
Mm-hmm.
What did he say?
We talked once.
So we talked once. It's clear. Offering commentary here, so it's legally allowed to put here. I'm sorry, I gotta start and stop so much.
Listen, I don't want any drama for you. They're aiming all of this at me. So I said, if I were you, I wouldn't say anything. Honestly.
If I were you, I wouldn't say anything, is what she told him. They're aiming it all on me. Honestly, if I were you, I just wouldn't say anything, is what she tells him. But then meanwhile, he's out there with all these interviews that they say never talked. Well, he did. He was defending himself like crazy. And then she does later in the documentary say this.
This whole thing was blown way out of proportion. And of course, it was an accident that should not have happened, but everyone is looking for someone to blame, and that's got to stop. Justin and I are very good friends, and we will always be very good friends. We spoke just a few days ago, and he and I have moved on, and it's time for everyone else to do the same.
So that is the clip, the extent of what sort of is talked about in the documentary. Those two little pieces that Daily Pop put together. Yeah, they don't really talk more about it. They do also acknowledge the fact that that he offered to bring her onto the Super Bowl when he did it. Was it 2017 or 18? And she said no. So, but when you go back and you watch these clips from Access High or Insider or whatever it was, like it's just a whole different story. And you go back to the time and remember it, which, it's harder to find these clips. So kudos to Shannon and everybody who found all this stuff. But what's crazy is just the aftermath of it all. So here's like...
Timberlake ripped that top off. Now, come on, now you go up to a girl and rip her top off. That's sexual assault. You can't do it. You let DMX take off Britney Spears' top. They'd have wrestled his ass to the ground. They'd have been beating that boy well into the third quarter. Just beating the hell out of him. And Justin, now, he was acting black at first. He was acting black. Now, on Sunday, he was black because he think he Creole or something. He confused. He think he Creole. He had his pants all down, sagging and stuff. He used to be an NSync. Now he think he a banger or somebody, And see, as soon as he got finished doing it, they interviewed him. They say, Justin, what was that? Well, you know what I'm saying. I'm just trying to keep it real, give my people something to talk about, That was Sunday. By Wednesday, he whitened up quite nicely.
True.
I don't know what happened. There was a wardrobe malfunction. I'm flabbergasted by the whole thing.
It's a wardrobe, I'm flabbergasted. Anyway, it's totally true. So anyway, but here's what's interesting. When you go down, you realize it all. You got to remember, MTV was a big thing back then and controlled a lot of music. So did CBS. Viacom controlled a lot of radio stations, etc. And so here's MTV and everybody scrambling to, create the narrative.
But what you may not know
is that MTV was as surprised and shocked as anyone. Quote, the tearing of Janet Jackson's costume was unrehearsed, unplanned, and completely unintentional, according to a statement by MTV. The statement also said that MTV regrets that this incident occurred, and the network apologizes to anyone who was offended by it.
And so damage control came.
MTV's spectacle for CBS says the stunt was unrehearsed, unplanned, completely unintentional. But the NFL's less than thrilled. Quote, we were extremely disappointed. It's unlikely that MTV will produce another Super Bowl halftime.
Offensive, embarrassing to us and our fans, and inappropriate.
But is there, this is Pardon the Pun Part 2, a cover-up? The Drudge Report alleges that top CBS executives knew all about it. They say no. But Drudge points out that in a pre-game press release, MTV promised Janet's shocking moment.
Remember?
CBS apologizes for the incident, but insists there was no indication that any such thing would happen.
Now, what's important is you look at here, as we try to figure out what actually happened. You can see she does have like the red bustier or bra underneath it. You know, Steph, if you can see it there. She does have this like red thing. And so, look, my theory, as I'll go through some more links, we'll do it. My theory is that, yeah, she totally knew what was going on. It was totally supposed to rip, but it was supposed to be just the red reveal. And instead, the whole thing came off. That's option one, which was, and that's what Janet pretty much admits on Oprah. We're going to get there in a little bit. That's what I think is supposed to happen. You know, what she's saying was supposed to happen. It was an accident. There was supposed to be a rip, but it wasn't supposed to pull the whole thing off. It was just supposed to pull the layer off. You know what I mean, Steph? Or the other theory is, well, she knew and she wanted this attention, and why else would they have ripped it? And that was all sort of part of the plan. And then that they can't admit it because they'd be on the hook for millions. They were sued for millions of dollars in fines, and the whole Super Bowl payment would also there's so much money at stake. If Janet admits, oh yeah, I did it as a stunt to get attention, she's then on the hook and liable in a way that would put her on the hook for a lot of money. So it's like, well, why would she ever admit that? She's never going to admit it. She's going to keep saying it's an accident to not have to pay, right? So to me, the reality is probably one of those two scenarios, Steph, is what actually happened here. But just interesting. So anyway, as you go through and you realize NFL, CBS, they're all trying to figure out where to put the blame. And so at a certain point, the heat got so hard, she did have to release an apology, forced by her publicist at the time, about a month later.
My decision to change the Super Bowl performance was actually made after the final rehearsal. MTV, CBS, the NFL had no knowledge of this whatsoever, and unfortunately, the whole thing went wrong in the end.
The wardrobe malfunction put the singer's camp in overdrive, prompting her publicist to make this orchestrated taped message available to media outlets. The Forge stating Janet recorded the video statement in Los Angeles last night and then released it at 10:30 p.m. We've learned it was just after her Essence magazine cover shoot with Mary J. Blige.
So she's forcing this thing, which doesn't seem like she wanted to do that at all. She looks so disturbed and bothered as she's sort of apologizing and admitting that no one had any idea, but sort of acknowledges that, yeah, we changed at the last minute to do a little bit of a reveal. Did it mean to reveal the full nipple? Who knows? Yeah, and then she even reminds it was the reason YouTube was created, her power. But then it keeps going on. FCC begins to investigate. The Grammys then pop up. I don't know if you knew this part, but they hype up the fact Janet Jackson's going to be on the Grammys like the following Sunday. And then it became a whole thing of, are they going to let her go to the Grammys? And then this asshole Portnoy or whatever, Les Moonves apparently met with the Grammy officials. And then this producer of the Grammys, who's been a big jerk, Neil Portnoy, I've seen him with a bunch of controversies.
Was given for the change of plans. At the salute to the art of the Grammys.
He's basically trying to get rid of Janet Jackson from the Grammys, but then talks about creative freedom.
We caught up with Neil Portnoy, the president of the Recording Academy, who says the event is still about free expression.
If we want to start removing arts and creativity from the airwaves, then this is not America.
Well, then he goes and proceeds to remove them from the Grammys. They basically forced them to apologize again on air if they wanted to attend the Grammys that year. And Miss Janet Jackson was like, no, I already did it. I'm not going to go keep making this a thing. I've apologized. They told me to apologize, so I did. And that's not, what am I supposed to do? So she refused to do it, and therefore she was uninvited. And then Justin shows up, of course, and wins. for Cry Me a River.
It's an honor just to be in the company that I was in. I'm humbled. This is overwhelming. I don't know what to say. I want to thank the Grammy Association. I want to thank my family. I want to thank all the fans who have been with me year after year after year. I want to thank the most beautiful woman in the world, my mother. I love you. Listen, I know it's been a rough week on everybody, and
talking about the incident.
What occurred was unintentional, completely regrettable, and I apologize if you guys are offended. This has been a dream of mine. I already got enough. Thank you. I don't know what to say.
Real sincere, right? This is real sincere. Forced apology he has to do in the middle. And then moving on like he would accept the award. Now, he's allowed to do that, but then Janet couldn't come. And then he had some some more smugness. He was very smug at that age.
This is officially the greatest night of my life.
This is the craziest week you've been through, though?
Yeah, you know, not really. I've been sued for $125 million. This is nothing.
This makes me like him less and less the more you watch this old stuff. And then here's Dave Portnoy again. Or what's his name? Neil Portnow.
This is not about Janet Jackson tonight.
That's the official word from Academy.
This is not about Janet. When they asked him, well, why isn't Janet here?
Neil Portnow, but Jackson's pal, Patti LaBelle, had a different take. I talked to Janet today, and Janet said that she wasn't asked to be here. So that's why Janet's not here.
And you got to remember at that point, Janet's huge still at this era. She's obviously very famous right now because they're all talking about this. Even Madonna, who they were sort of had their back and forth, she's supporting it.
I don't know. It seems like they're making a big deal about it. That's a very small thing.
Big deal out of a small thing. Facts. Anyway, MTV then blames Janet. Finally comes out and says Janet engineered it. Chief executive for the network said, so they threw her under the bus. Timberlake was informed of the stunt just moments before he took the stage, sort of giving him an out of like, well, he just was there at the end. He didn't really know. It was Janet's whole idea. And then you had people on the narrative just talking about this woman.
Yesterday, and now, boom, this morning, everyone's talking about Janet Jackson. This is a woman who's 37 years old, which is ancient in the world of pop music. She's looking for a comeback. She has a new album coming out. All of a sudden, she can be seen as a sex symbol, slightly controversial. We saw it the Britney and Madonna kiss. You need controversy to sell. And, she's headline news this morning. It's a great story for her.
It's a great story for her. Well, let's see if it was a great story. So Justin loses nothing. He's still sponsored by McDonald's, moves on. But guess what happens to Janet? Well, she also talks about she didn't get to honor her friend Luther Vandross, who later had a stroke. He was super bummed. He was supposed to be honored by Janet at that show. She was clearly very upset by it.
To him, presenting it to him, which that kind of got lost in the shuffle. It really was very hurtful. I'm okay with it, though. I really am.
Janet says, what made it
sorry, it's hard to do this. And then 2 weeks later, Lena Horne forces her to drop out of the movie biopic about her because of this whole stupid thing. So then Lena Horne basically admits
she was to portray the legendary Lena Horne. Today's Variety reports that Janet was effectively disinvited from the movie by...
So here she is, lost from the Grammys, lost from the biopic, and then this part's really hard to watch. I'm not going to show it all, but again, I love Dave Letterman. I always thought he was funny, but my God, he could talk about Me Too movement, sort of skipping him. Ladies just liked it, Steph, so I guess he got away with it. But my God, he could be so rude, especially to the women on his show. And here's Janet showing up, and he will not stop asking.
Welcome to the show. Now that's almost malfunctioning, isn't it?
Jesus.
Wow.
Now, if he had just done that, I would have been like,
Tell us
okay, whatever.
Exactly what happened from the time you got up on Super Bowl Sunday to the time the episode took place during the halftime show.
I don't want to relive any of that.
All right.
I mean,
You don't mind if I ask you some questions about it, though?
She clearly does. He goes on. I can't keep playing the Dave clips, but he goes on for not only every segment. You can just see how uncomfortable she is. And she never came back to The Late Show or anything on CBS after this.
It was supposed to kind of happen like that, but what actually happened I wasn't supposed to come out of it the way that I did.
Right.
Yes.
And what was supposed to happen? Like a... I mean, what was, like, clowns jumping out of a car? What? So it really was just an accident?
No, it truly was an accident.
And are you surprised at all of the furor that it's caused?
I really am.
Yeah.
He goes on.
Justin Timberlake knew that this was going to happen.
We never had a dress rehearsal.
Right. So there was no discussion of, oh, let's do this. No, nobody had an idea. The MTV people didn't say.
David.
It was completely an accident.
Yes, it was an accident.
But then
it really feels like Moonves sort of tasked Dave with like getting her to admit it on the show, because they were on the hook for a lot of money. So they're grilling, and it keeps going and keeps going. And then Dave starts asking about Michael.
And so on and so forth. Those weren't true. But you know, when Justin Timberlake went up there and ripped the thing off, it didn't look like an accident.
He's still. I've watched all 6 minutes of it. The whole interview is incredibly uncomfortable. You can just tell she doesn't want to talk about it. She tries to talk about it. She alludes to it. He then goes and asks uncomfortable questions about Michael, who's under another investigation.
Yes, but we're not going to get into that.
No.
Even she's like, no, we're not talking about that. It's a really frosty interview. And then Diane Sawyer does the same thing.
It made me stronger. That's what it did. It made me much stronger.
I don't think anybody expected you to
come
out in turtlenecks.
Listen to the crowd. Thank God she's got her audience there, because they're like trying to pivot the questions, because it will not stop asking the same questions over again. And they're like album, forcing the worst. Diane Sawyer was the worst back then, to then have to pivot. And luckily she had some defense. But anyway, it kept going and going and going. What really gets crazy as you go through the story, and I'll put the link to this in the video so you can read it for yourself, was you start going through and realizing how much control CBS, FCC, and then therefore Les Moonves had on her career. The next album, there was so much shady stuff going on. Infinity Broadcasting, Clear Channel, all enforced a blacklist of Jackson's singles and music videos. All of this went down, which I think I have the article here, because Les Moonves reportedly wanted to sabotage her career after the nip slip. He allegedly banned her from presenting at the Grammys, discouraged CBS affiliates from promoting her new album in any manner because he didn't think she was apologetic enough. Now, Les Moonves is the guy who got canceled, Steph, remember back in the day for improper allegations, Julie Chen's husband. And as you go through and you read all this stuff, you just realize, what happened to Janet after that whole thing? Her career really did take a nosedive. And it wasn't because the work wasn't good enough. Her albums were still strong. She had good songs on that, but she didn't get any promotion. Nobody would promote her. Why? Because powerful people. I really do believe this theory is fair. A lot of important people at the time were damning her because they were upset about the fines and what she did and thought it was her fault. And the reality is that Demita Joe did not perform nearly as much. And then meanwhile, Timberlake just managed to scoot through and be fine. Nothing ever happened to him until now, like the past couple of years, when people came back and sort of came after him. But as you go through, I mean, there's more. I'm going off into it, but as you go through sort of the where it gets really scary on the banning of her, that's where it really gets scary. And there's a long thread theorizing and going to all this stuff through Viacom and where they blocked her. But here's what I wanted to show. To wrap it up, though,
in any way
to credit
that
to Oprah, she does do a pretty good interview here. I mean, gets her to answer a couple things. And this is a telling one because she does sort of finally acknowledge that she is upset with Justin Timberlake, even though she's saying she's not now. She clearly was. So I want to wrap up on this bit. Here we go.
Justin Timberlake left you hanging out there? I am speaking to Miss Jackson. Do you?
Well, all the emphasis was put on me, not on Justin. And Justin, we were friends. And not that we aren't now. We haven't spoken, but I consider him a friend. And I'm very loyal, and friendship is very important to me.
Well, Justin Timberlake recently talked about the incident. Did you know that?
I heard that.
Okay, on MTV. And this is some of what he said. He said, if you consider it 50-50, meaning I think that both of you were up there on the stage doing this, then I probably got 10% of the blame. I think America is harsher on women, he said, and I think America is unfairly harsh on ethnic people.
Well, first of all, that quote's never being pulled. So to Justin's credit, good on him. He did put that out there, and this is 2006. We want to give Justin a lot of crap. I know a lot of you guys do too. But in 2006, he did comment and seemingly support Janet in a way and say, yeah, I didn't get enough of the blame. So good on him there.
On ethnic people. So that's what he said. Do you think people were too hard on you?
I think they were. I think they did put all the emphasis on me, and as opposed to us. And I have to say, just to let people know that Justin has reached out to we haven't spoken, but has reached out to speak with me. And like I said, friendship is very important to me, and certain things you just don't do to friends.
Yeah.
And in my own time, I'll give
So
him
when
a
you
call.
say certain things you just don't do to friends, do you think him ripping the whole thing off? Is that what you're talking about?
No. When you had said, certain things were said supposedly, or that he had said, during that whole fiasco, I had heard, and kind of leaving you out there hanging.
So you do feel that he left you hanging?
To a certain degree, yeah.
Okay. And so, was that really hard on you that time? How were you? Were you upset about it? Were you angry? Were you depressed?
Yes. Anyway, but there you have it. She did fight. Janet, if I was watching the documentary and seeing a lot of stuff that I've been looking, she does not like to throw people in the bus. She hates being negative or hating on people. She's just not a drama person at all, Steph. Like, she doesn't want to air any grievances publicly. She likes to keep things privately. It's so clear. That was the first moment I could see where she did finally acknowledge, yeah, he left me hanging. So she did finally expose and acknowledge the fact. But it does seem like, now as time has passed, she doesn't want to hang. She doesn't care anymore. She's old. She's got one, older now. She's a mom. At this point, I think she's just trying to do the better thing and say, let's move on. Now, the question though remains with fans of, should we forgive Justin through all this? Was this intentional? Even my old 2 cents is like, who cares that her boob showed? Who cares? But when you go through and see what she was punished just for a boob falling out, it's unbelievable. She really had her whole career shuttered for a little while there because of it. And as we saw, Steph, with the numbers of sort of this documentary, the videos, and what I'm reporting on her, people don't seem to want to care or talk about her anymore because the spotlight just turned off on her and wouldn't promote her anymore. The machine just got turned off, really, for all the Jacksons, let's be honest. But when you look at it all, and then Justin sort of managed to keep going. I think Justin just not as popular as he used to be, let's be honest. Hasn't had a hit song in a long time. Now he's feeling the heat. But it's sad when you look back and see what happened to her. And so I do feel bad. At the end of the day, I think there was clearly something planned that they probably did off the record that maybe they shouldn't have, or maybe MTV knew. And then, whether it was intentional or not for her boob to fall out, I don't know. The more I think about it, I think it was intentional to have something sexy be there, but not have it go all the way. And clearly it was a wardrobe malfunction is what I think. But I want to go now back to you as I've unlaid now the whole story. Who do you think is more to blame? Is it a 50-50? Is it more of a Justin? Steph, where do you stand on all this?
50-50. They were both performers. They both, did it. It's as simple as that. Janet Jackson wore an outfit that allowed that part to be ripped off. Justin, in turn, ripped it off. So, to me, it's 50-50. However, I'm still confused as to why, at this point now, there is still a level of anger at Justin. Hear me out on this one. I understand back in the day there would have been. Okay. But so much time has passed now. Janet Jackson herself has said, look, I've forgiven him. We've talked. We're friends. We've both moved on. She was in the position. She was the only person in the position to be able to turn around and say, I forgive Justin. Because she was the person that ultimately, with all the backlash, was wronged immensely. Not us, not the public, not the fans. It was her. It happened to her physically. It didn't happen to us. So if Janet Jackson's turning around now and saying, I've forgiven him. We are friends. Let it go. It's in the past. Then that's what we should be doing. We should not be angry and upset at this point against Justin when the person that was actually wronged is turning around and saying, I'm not. Let it go. It's done. The anger is misplaced as far as I'm concerned. It should more be turned towards the machine behind Janet and Justin that allowed the blacklisting of Janet Jackson to take place in the first place. Because in a way, Justin was a victim of his own circumstance because he had to bow down and kiss the ring in order for his career to continue. Janet, on the other hand, and good for her, said, no, do one. And look what happened. You stand up to the powerful, you stand up to this machine, you can end up like Janet Jackson in this industry and completely get blacklisted. Is that fair? No. So instead of being angry against Justin Timberlake now, for something that now she's completely forgotten, forgiven, she's let go, it's all done. Instead, now, let's actually turn that energy towards the machine that allowed this to happen in the first place and the blacklisting of Janet Jackson, because guess what? That machine still exists. And if something like this happens again, then your favourite artist could suffer potentially the same consequences as Janet Jackson. And we need to make sure that this does not happen again to any artist. So that's kind of where my head's at with all of this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, look, I think you're right. The machine here allegedly, right, Les Moonves, CBS, I believe there were powers that be that were clearly pushing unfairly. And I think that is where the attention should be put on. And to be fair, I wanted to end as we clip this. We got a lot more we're going to talk about here, but on the live show. But, you know, he did come forward. Was it late? Too late? Maybe. Sure. But at least he did it. You know, when I spoke out, I'm deeply sorry for the times in my life where my actions contributed to the problem, where I spoke out of turn or did not speak up for what I was right. I understand that I fell short in these moments, and that many others benefited from a system that condones misogyny and racism. Specifically, I want to apologize to Britney Spears and Janet Jackson, both individually, because I care for and respect these women, and I know I failed. Everyone deserves better, larger conversation. He doesn't get into specifics here, just about his privilege and the industry being flawed. But I do applaud him at least starting there. The Janet Jackson one, again, as I wrap up my statement, we're gonna move on to some other stuff, and I'd love to get your thoughts. Pin comment, can you get involved? Link, can use your comments to get involved, and I'll get through them on the show. But I do think there was clearly something they were doing that they weren't supposed to do, and in that regard, I think it's impossible not to blame both of them, Janet and Justin. However, I do understand the frustration in the industry being mad at Justin still this day for never having the guts to stand up until now, and backing her up. Like when you go and watch those clips of his sort of, you know, cocky, like, yeah, what it is. I'm pissed. You know, the two should have united, and he should have reached out to her, and he should be like, oh my God, what do we do? Like the fact that they weren't talking together and figuring that out is really weird to me. The fact that he's out there defending himself before he talked to Janet, it's all very weird for me. So while I agree we should move on, I think it's unfair of Janet in a way to not understand why a lot of us may still be disappointed by Justin Timberlake. You know what I mean? I still think he does still have some growing to do, and he made some mistakes there that I think he could be a bit more specific on. That said, if Janet wants to move on, then I'll move on. But I figured since she opened up the can again, I wanted to at least go through and share what I think was the ultimate truth behind all of this, which was, yeah, she was pissed. And I'm sure she still is to an extent, but clearly moved on to more important things in her life. But, you know, I applaud her for being the better person here and saying, you know, look, it's time to move on, because that's what grown-ups do. That's what mature people do, you know, and she's right. We do have to move on. But this was a massively unfair situation that happened to her. So I think it's good that we take a moment to remember and hopefully lift her back up and let her have a little bit more of the spotlight again, because Janet Jackson is an icon and a music legend, and her songs are way better than Justin Timberlake's. I'm sorry, they are. And she deserves more attention right now. And so if that means we got to do a little bit of shading on Justin to sort of get a little truth exposed to Janet so she gets a little bit more respect right now, I'm for that. I'm for that right now. So my allegiance is to the queen here, Janet. I think, she tried to do something sexy, fun. It backfired. Both of them should have been put through the grill if they were going to really be so mad. But Justin could have handled himself way better than he did. But if Janet's saying it's time to move on, it's time we move on. But what do you guys think? We got a poll up there. We got some more questions. I want to hear your comments. Appreciate you guys watching. Do you think it was intentional? That's what I'm really curious. Do you think it was just supposed to be a red bra exposed? Or do you think it was all supposed to be there and she can't admit it for money's sake? Does it matter either way? No. But which one do you think really happened? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you haven't already, can you double check to see if you're still subscribed? And if you're not, can you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for all alerts, and smash that like button? Also leave a comment down below. But I'm seeing a lot of comments of people who are getting unsubscribed because YouTube's doing it. They're looking out for spam accounts, but they're actually unsubscribing a lot of you actual people. So if you can, go check, see if you're still subscribed, and support the channel if you can. And to Janet, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Get it? That's the song. Outcast song. But I gotta say it. We got so much more going. If you're watching live, don't go anywhere. We're not done. Lots more news to get through. If you missed the live show, hit the join and catch the replay.